So once again, this video is going to be mostly my review section of this episode because I'm pretty sure this will get nailed. So, but link to the actual commentary slash reaction video will be in the description below. So I hope you enjoy. So that was episode 1, The Nest. Or maybe it should be The Roost, I'm not really quite sure. So, I like that episode. I mean, obviously, this is the beginning episode that's introducing the characters, situation, the town, everything, and it's definitely an unusual situation. Kids riding around on dragons and they can actually talk to all the dragons. It's like, yeah, I would say that's pretty unusual. And these dragons are so different from the kind of dragons that are normally in the How to Train Your Dragon series, because those dragons were supposed to be scary. They were supposed to be intimidating when you first looked at them. It's like, oh no, a dragon! Run for your lives! And stuff, and then we learned that, oh, they're not so bad, that we can actually be friends with them and stuff. But this being the more, I would say, kid-friendly version of the story, not to mention after all this time, we don't really need to establish that part anymore. It's like, no, these dragons are our friends and everything, so yo! So these characters are much more colorful and friendly looking. You almost just want to hug these dragons. They're just so cuddly and cute and stuff. Except for Cutter because she's covered in spikes. That would hurt. So, ooh. This is such a different series from the other How to Train Your Dragon series. Characters in this series are way younger, they're much more friendly and kid-like, which I don't think is necessarily a problem. And I do kind of like this backstory. I mean, it's kind of bizarre in some ways. I mean, that's, I guess, sort of the point, is that the mother dragon rescued these kids and then raised them as her own, which is kind of surprising. It's like, she should have just eaten them. But no, this dragon obviously had a very good heart and felt sorry for them. That's kind of what How to Train Your Dragon is all about. You know, all these creatures that we think are so dangerous and threatening, oh, they're actually really nice and they can be our friends and stuff. So that fits within that universe, and I like that. And I think it would have been all but impossible to do this series if you couldn't actually talk to these dragons. This would be a completely different series. It'd be pretty boring because we'd only be able to talk with Dak and Layla. And I think this is an interesting challenge, but it's also something that can be kind of fun for the writers, because yeah, they have to be constantly reminding the audience, it's like, no, the other human characters can't understand what the dragon's saying. It's like, well, I didn't like the sound of that roar, but that didn't sound like a happy roar. But sometimes it could be fun, because let's just say at one point in a future episode that one of the dragons is giving this big emotional speech to try to inspire one of the humans, and about an eighth of the way through, I realized, oh, wait a minute, she can't actually understand what he's saying, so this isn't gonna work out. So all she hears is roar, 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 roar. But still, I like the series. It's fun, it's lighthearted. There's some kind of morals once in a while, but it's not too heavy. This series is a lot more, I would say, kid-friendly than the other series. I mean, none of the How to Train Your Dragon stuff I would say is, harsh, but sometimes it could be a little, how shall we say. But yeah, this series is definitely very kid-friendly, but it's still pretty good, and it definitely has some good points in it once in a while. Like, even in this episode, it's like, you know, you shouldn't judge people or dragons, by what you've heard. You should judge them by what you actually see them do and all that, and I totally agree with that. Because, yeah, that's part of the problem in the How to Train Your Dragons, is like, you hear all these stories, oh no, the dragons, they attacked these towns, they killed everyone, oh no, but at the same time, it's like, oh look, there's a flock of dragons, they flew past, they did nothing to us, so, So maybe dragons aren't so bad. Maybe they can be our friends. But yeah, I really like the series. I think I just like series about rescuing people. I mean, it's like, yeah, no one gets hurt. No one dies. This is actually about rescuing people from certain doom. And it can be very lighthearted and fun. And I think that's just great. I mean, there's actually some somewhat okay morals in once in a while, but yeah, I really like this one. Now, switching to this actual episode and how effective it is, I think it's actually pretty good as sort of the opener, because even though we already know what's essentially going to happen, because they say at the very beginning, oh, we live in this town, we've been here a while, so here's the story of how we got here. So we know that they're not going to kick them out of this town, but I guess we kind of already do that anyway, so so they're showing us literally how they got here, why they're here, and using, well, I'm sure I'm gonna get his name right, Doug Hart, as sort of almost taking the place of the audience of saying, watch out, there's dragons over there, we're all doomed. It's like, you know, explaining everything to Duckhart is at the same time explaining it to the audience, so this was an effective way to do exposition without it being heavy. And there was some still kind of fun moments in there. And, you know, like when he's like, oh, how many fingers am I holding up? And it's like, that was actually kind of funny, and that kind of moved the story and the point. It's like, yeah, they actually can talk to these dragons and stuff, and, you know, they're not just faking it. We got introduced to Hexcalor, Magnus. I don't like him very much. He's not very nice. Well, obviously, we gotta have some villain here, because otherwise it'd be a pretty boring story. And not to mention, it's like, it does make sense that, you know what, at least one of these villagers is not gonna be happy with a bunch of dragons moving in with them. And you can see that the town is sort of swaying. It's like, Magnus, maybe you're right. And then they go back to being like, no, we love these kids, the dragons. They're great. They saved us from certain doom. Yeah, so overall, I thought this was a pretty effective episode. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it, and definitely introduced a lot, but without being, I would say, exposition heavy, where it's just like, oh, we gotta listen to them tell us how they got here, which is kind of the point of this episode. But it was still fun and exciting, and overall, I really liked it. So, yo! So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you for commenting, liking, and subscribing, and until next time, this is Blue Star. Stay strong, and pony on. Blue Star out.